The land of the Bible has secrets hiding in plain sight. If you're a pastor, a small group leader, or teaching the Bible in any capacity, I want to show you how using some of our visual resources will help you become a more effective communicator. In this coaching session, I'll show you how to use footage from the Jordan River to enhance your teaching of some of the Bible's most famous stories, from the day that Joshua crossed over into the Promised Land until the day Jesus was baptized in the same river. In fact, that brings up a teaching point already. Place and story are always connected. That's true in every generation. That's true in your life. How many parents have spotted a church, a sports stadium, or a national monument and then forced their children to listen to a story of what happened in that place? I'm telling you, place and story are always connected. Now in the Bible, people connected the Jordan River with the day that Joshua crossed over, another day when Elijah and Elisha crossed over, with Elisha crossing by himself on the return trip, and then yet another day when Jesus was baptized in the same general area. The Jordan River is a connecting point of all three of these Bible stories, and all three of these stories are about the beginning of a new era of ministry. Joshua was the new leader for the Israelites. Elisha was the successor to Elijah, and Jesus announced the beginning of his public ministry at the Jordan River. If you would like to join into the flow of this story, I think it'd be a good idea if you understood the Jordan River in its entirety. And remember, everything I'm about to show you is something you can show your own audience. The Jordan begins far to the north as three tributaries collide in the Hula Valley. One of those tributaries is the Banyas River. It flows from the ancient location of Banyas, which was known to New Testament readers as Caesarea Philippi. The Jordan flows through the Hula Valley and into the Sea of Galilee. If you measure that part of the river's life, that's only about 20 miles. But the river, of course, does not travel in a straight line. At the southern end of the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River begins to flow again. Many Christian pilgrims visiting Israel are baptized in this location at a site called Yardenit. Though it's a beautiful spot, it was not where Jesus was baptized. However, it is in the general location of where Naaman, the Syrian commander, immersed himself 7 times at the instruction of Elisha. Naaman lost his leprosy there, gaining a faith in the God of Israel as he did so. The Jordan meanders south for about 65 miles, and again, that's measuring in a straight line, until it finds its ending point in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea sits in a giant bowl, so to speak, and is the lowest place on earth. No water can flow out of the Dead Sea. So the Jordan River ends as it reaches the Dead Sea. Now, despite what you may have heard, that's not why the Dead Sea is so salty. Instead, at 1,400 feet below sea level, the Dead Sea is saturated with the minerals of the deep earth around it. If you go deep enough, all fresh water will become salty because of that environment. Jericho is near the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea and only 3 miles from the Jordan River. It was here that John the Baptizer was preaching and challenging people to be baptized as a sign of their personal repentance. Thickets cover the steep banks of the Jordan River for most of its journey. So there was probably a well-known crossing point without the thickets between Jericho and Bethany beyond the Jordan. And it was almost certainly there where John was baptizing. And almost certainly that's also where Joshua, Elijah, Elisha, and Jesus made their own memorable moments at the famous river. These days, Israel and the state of Jordan both use the water of the Jordan River for their people and for their crops. As a result, there's not much water left to flow into the Dead Sea from the Jordan River. In fact, if you see the Jordan today, it's not very impressive. And by the way, after years of this low flow of water from the Jordan going into the Dead Sea is receding very rapidly. I think you'll find it helpful to see our videos that include Eric Matson's photos from the Jordan River from the early 1900s, when there were no dams and when there was no heavy irrigation. When you see those photos, note the very high banks of the Jordan River near the ancient site of Adam. The small town there today is called Damia. An earthquake in this region can cause the sandy banks to spill into the path of the river, and it can stop the flow of the river until the water can find a new path around all the debris. And with no river flowing, theoretically, people could cross the riverbed to the south on dry land. Just such a thing happened as recently as 1927 when the river stopped flowing for 2 days because of an earthquake. Perhaps that's how Joshua and Elisha were able to cross over on dry land. Some of the old photos also show the river at flood stage, something that will not be allowed to happen today because of modern technology. If you're interested in more of these priceless photos from Eric Mattson, I'd suggest visiting Todd Boland's amazing website, BiblePlaces.com. He has culled hundreds of these photos that could be very valuable in your teaching ministry and other Bible stories. Now, just be sure to check out all of our videos from the Jordan River on BibleStock.org. When you find a video that can help you in your ministry, download it and then show it to your audience as you're teaching great truths from the Bible's record of history.